All of it tonight?
Welcome to the September 8th, 2025 meeting of the Sandusky City Commission. We'll have an invocation offered by Commissioner Krabel, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Lord, we're gathered here today in your presence to do your will. Please guide us, direct us, let us be sensitive to the needs of others and to our duty to this city. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As far as you call roll.
Yes, Mr. President. Ms. Fargo?
Here.
Mr. Waddington?
Here.
Mr. Brady?
Here.
Mr. Murray?
Here.
Mr. Bajali?
Here.
Mr. Kuntz?
Here.
Mr. Krabel?
Here.
Commissioners, you have before the minutes of our meeting of August the 25th, 2025. What is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Waddington.
I move that we accept the minutes of the August 25th meeting as presented.
Second.
Then a motion and a second discussion.
Thanks, Bishop.
Without objection, that motion will be approved, and hearing no objection, that motion is approved. The first item on our, ahead of our agenda actually is a Planning Commission appeal regarding property at 603 Columbus Avenue. This is an appeal of the denial of a conditional use permit by our Planning Commission for that property. My understanding that the appellant is represented by counsel. I'm going to allow the appellant's counsel to proceed with their presentation. If commissioners have questions during that presentation, we will certainly allow those. And this is also a public hearing, so if the public wishes to have questions or make comments regarding that, I'm going to allow that also. And following the appellant's presentation, I'll allow our Planning Commission through Adam Panis to give their analysis and their recommendation. And once again, the commission has questions. They certainly are entitled to ask those questions as well as the public. At the conclusion of their presentation, I will expect a motion. I will expect a discussion after that motion, and then I will expect a vote. Those are my expectations. If the appellant's counsel is ready to proceed, please join us at the podium. And if you would, for the record, if you just tell us who you are and where you're from, we'll have it in the record.
Of course. My name is Michael Nacon, and I am the law firm of Wick & Terzer Panza. We currently have an office at 1521 East Perkins Avenue, represent the appellants in this case. Now, I would like to have my client also make a statement for the record. I don't know if you'd prefer to have that now or after I'm done presenting my
I prefer to have it now, I think.
I think that that's great. Jacob P. Store is going to give a statement here for the record about their work. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your time. I guess the brief history of Recovery Institute of Ohio is we've been operating in Sandusky for about 8 years. We have a detox and substance use treatment facility on Pierce Street. The housing is separate. That's the detox. They go there for 2 weeks, and then they go to the housing for about 2 to 4 weeks. Our housing is in Perkins Township right now. We've been looking for new housing for maybe 3 years, and we come across a lot of stuff. We say this isn't a good fit, that wouldn't work. And then when we came across 603, it was a commercial building with a conditional use permit for transient occupancy up to 30 days. So we were like, this is perfect. They've already given this. In the past, if it didn't have that, we would have put a clause in the purchase agreement, came and met with you, said this is what we propose we want to do. It could fit, maybe, maybe not. We would go our separate ways or we would make it work. We did not do that because it already had that done. The zoning would have been right. Based on his previous conditional use permit and the additional units he wanted to add, the density would be exactly the same. There wouldn't be any more than what was previously issued in, I think it was 2022. There was some pushback at the Planning Commission meeting that we're trying to put this in a residential neighborhood. The building's zoned commercial. It was a bank, so I think that's kind of irrational. The traffic was brought up, so the people who live there do not have their cars. They do not have access to the transportation. We would have vans that go in and out, so the traffic would be kept to a minimum. We've sent a proposal to limit the noise, have a designated smoking area, keep the congregating at a minimum. I mean, we wanted to redo a bunch of the inside and have like a hangout room, a living room, whatever you want to call it. You know, in the past, we've done this where we found a property and we went to the city and we've met with everyone, met with the mayor, the fire chief, city manager, everyone, and it would either, like in Lorraine, we tried it, and the building we wanted to do was like way too much of a shift. It wasn't like already set up for that, and so we thought that wasn't a good fit. We did it in Findlay, and we came to terms with an agreement where they wanted us to put up like a higher fence, put up a curb between the building next door, change some of the windows because there were balconies. You know, we just want to be good neighbors, and we want to do this, and it seems like, based on the previous planning commission meeting, the reasons for the zoning, I think we cover all those bases. The other thing is just that it just seems like people don't want us there, and I don't know why. So I'm just was giving you the gist of what we do. If you have any questions for me, I'll answer them, and then I know Mike wants to make his statement.
Questions, commissioners? Questions from the public for the owner? I'll let counsel make his presentation.
Thank you, Commissioner. The Planning Commission below erred in multiple ways in denying the conditional use permit for this property. First, in misclassifying the desired use as that being for public facilities. This house is going to be used purely for housing of participants in the program. It does not fit into any public facilities, public welfare definition as that is described in the code. This is not a convalescent home. This is not an outpatient rehab facility. No treatment occurs at this property. It will be used only for the occupancy by these individuals. And for that reason, it does not fit any of the qualifications to be public welfare, public facility, and it was misclassified in that respect. As my client said as well, the residents would spend no more than 4 weeks at this facility. I believe there may have been some confusion over that at the prior meeting. It is a 6-week program, but 2 of the weeks are spent out getting treatment directly at the hospital facility. 4-week stay maximum here fits within the 30-day transient occupancy qualification under the code, which is already a permitted use in local business districts under the zoning code. This was discussed at the Planning Commission in 2022 when the original conditional use permit for transient occupancy was granted. Because it's permitted under the general business district and then the roadside business district. To get to another point that I'll say later as well, hotels and motels are permitted under the roadside business district. So to the extent that those are already permitted uses in those districts, the fact that they're saying there's going to be too many people here, I don't think is accurate. All right. Additionally, the Planning Commission erred in applying 9 conditional use factors to the request in the first place, applying residential factors and business factors. When the conditional use permit was heard back in 2022, only 6 factors for the business districts were heard, and those are the only ones that should apply here. For consistency's sake, I know Commissioner Pajali voted against the CUP in 2022. I don't expect to change his mind today. So that first factor be considered in granting that. The proposed use is necessary to serve community needs, and existing similar facilities located in a more remote district in which the use is permitted are inadequate. Below, the Planning Commission inappropriately focused on whether this facility would be more appropriate in a more remote district. That is not the test. The test is whether an already existing facility in a remote district is inadequate. We presented in our original plans the fact that this is needed. This is needed in the community. Sandusky Artisans, a local group in the recovery space, confirms this. They've provided us with a letter of support saying that they support our mission and that we need more facilities like this in Sandusky, in the area. The city said that it would be more appropriate elsewhere, but did not identify where else. And again, that is not the test. This is not a residential neighborhood. It is a highly mixed use. At the 2022 Planning Commission, again, the commissioners stated that this is not a residential neighborhood. There are residences permitted, but it is not a residential neighborhood. The second factor, that the proposed use is not closer than appropriate for a particular situation to schools, churches, or other places of assembly. The Planning Commission, when it granted the 2022 conditional use permit, took no issue with proximity to schools or churches when it first granted transient occupancy. That is how this will be used today under their requested conditional use permit, the only difference being who's occupying it. Less than a quarter mile away, a 60-second walk essentially, there's the Lost Sailor Inn, which is a 15-person Airbnb available for rent. Equally close to all of those same facilities that the Planning Commission below identified as being inappropriate for use. Yeah. The third factor being the location, size, intensity of site plan of proposed use shall be that its operation will not be objectionable to nearby dwellings by reason of noise, smoke, dust, odors, fumes, vibrations, or glare more than is normal or as permitted by the performance standards of the district. We are fully prepared to engage in any mitigation efforts necessary to make this part of the community. In the 2022 hearing, which obviously is becoming a theme at this point, the Planning Commission noted that it did not expect any greater noise, fumes, dust, or anything like that of such annoying nature to interfere with the neighboring properties. Nobody raised an objection, and it went through with haste. Again, this is a commercial district that has the density and different types of occupants throughout the area. Fourth factor, proposed use will be harmonious, part of the business, commercial, manufacturing district, taking into account, among others, convenience of access and the relationship to one another of use. In granting the previous conditional use permits, the Planning Commission specifically noted, again, this is not a residential neighborhood, and that it's on a main thoroughfare into downtown Sandusky. This is not a quiet side street that's going to be changed substantially by the operation of this facility with a conditional use permit. It's not inharmonious with long-term residential use, and it's no different than an Airbnb, which was previously approved, and again, one which exists a 60-second walk away. Further, the high-density transient occupancy in nearby parcels evinces the city should have no issue permitting this type of residency here. Fifth factor, that being that the proposed use should be permitted in the next less restrictive district because of its limited nature, modern devices, equipment, or improvements. And granting the 2022 conditional use of permit, the Planning Commission weighed this factor against the next least restrictive district, which that commission said was roadside business, being less restrictive, not necessarily the zoning of the next contiguous parcel. Again, roadside business permits transient occupancy, which I would argue substantially is all that's being requested here. The last and final factor, that being the hours of operation and concentration of vehicles in connection with the proposed use, will not be more hazardous or dangerous than normal traffic. The commission has already determined, the Planning Commission below stated there was not any substantial risk of improved traffic in the area. To a final, more pertinent point, I strongly believe here that denial of the conditional use permit is impermissibly discriminatory against those in recovery. The property will be operated just the same as the prior Airbnb was operated, occupants gone during the day and residing there at night. Nothing has changed in how this facility will operate. I'm left with the only conclusion that it's because of the people that will be staying there. It could have been bachelor parties, frats having a timeout. those people you can expect to be noisy, rowdy, partying, creating a disturbance in the area. These individuals who will be residing there just want to be part of the community. They want to make themselves better, and they're trying to recover. The Americans with Disabilities Act and the Fair Housing Act identify individuals as in addiction recovery as being disabled, and as such, they are entitled to certain reasonable accommodations, and they cannot be discriminated against because of their disability. The public comment and the 180-degree change of staff recommendations at the Planning Commission, the difference between 2022, which recommended that the conditional use permit be granted in whole, versus what happened this time around, leads me to believe that the only reason that changed is because of who's going to be staying there, and that's impermissible to consider or weigh against them. You know, neighbors worried about the property value at the hearing. There's no evidence to suggest that property values are going to change in any way, and the history of Rio is that the neighboring properties to their other facilities have gone up since they've been there. There was repeated commentary below that we are providing a necessary service, a commendable service, but the theme rang true every single time, but not in my backyard. That is not permissible. Equally, the staff report identified the proximity to an establishment that sells alcohol as a factor weighing against the approval of the CUP. That is not a factor appropriate for consideration and tells that it was considered and that these people are in recovery as weighing against the grant. If Rio had applied to operate a 6-unit Airbnb, I believe that the commission below would have approved that, aside from Commissioner Pajali, in full. This is disparate treatment. Again, because they have a disability, they are entitled to reasonable accommodation. We have previously offered and are still willing to enter into the following restrictions as part of the grant of a conditional use permit. Soundproofing portions of the property as agreed to mutually between Rio and the city. No outdoor recreation activities after 7 p.m. Fence in the existing drive-through area of the property to be used by residents for outdoor congregating, including smoking. Reimbursement of neighbor that installed fencing prior to this the below Planning Commission's meeting, and strict limitations on outdoor congregating and noise between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. Rio has made significant investment in this property, seeking to provide a necessary service to the residents of Sandusky. Should the city continue to deny the grant of conditional use permit, it's plain to me that such basis will be the status of the proposed residents as recovering addicts. As such, Rio will have no choice but to protect its interest and the interest of those that it serves by pursuing all available remedies under the ADA and FHA in court if necessary. Thank you.
Questions, Commission, from the Appellate's Council? Have any questions from the public for Appellate's Council? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I will now ask our Planning Department person, Adam Penis, to provide his analysis of this and Planning Department's recommendation.
Thank you. I have a number of slides for you all today. First half, the slide deck is similarly structured. First half is background, second half is analysis, summary of staff's analysis. So first is background. In 2022, this property did receive a conditional use permit for eligibility to use a maximum of 4 units for transient rental. At that time, the owner developed 3 former medical offices into transient rental units, receiving proper permit approvals in 2023 and 2024 from the Division of Code Compliance, expiring at the end of last year. In February of 2025, the current owners bought the property. In March, residents brought the new use of the property to staff's attention. On April 17th, an application was submitted for a conditional use permit from the Planning Commission. On April 30th, staff sent a violation letter acknowledging our receipt of the application and notifying the owner that their occupancy of the building was out of compliance. In March and April, staff conducted research to understand the proposed use, and during the regularly scheduled meeting on June 25th, 2025, the City Planning Commission denied the application by unanimous vote. Which brings us to today, where, to the best of staff's knowledge, the property remains occupied despite the denial of the application and the zoning violation that was issued. That application was submitted by Fike Architecture on behalf of 603 Columbus LLC for property at 603 Columbus Ave for conditional use permit to establish a public facilities land use on a property zoned local business. On this slide, the map on the left shows the zoning of the primary parcel, and on the right, you can see an outline of that same parcel against an aerial image from this past spring. They also own a vacant lot that's connected to this, which I'll show here in a minute. Here are a couple site photos taken prior to that June 25th Planning Commission meeting. The top photo shows the existing conditions of the facade facing Columbus Avenue. The bottom photo shows the condition of a former bank drive-through on Madison Street. As you can see, the building is comprised of two wings, one being a two-story building facing Columbus Ave and the other being a single-story building facing Madison Street. The building was originally constructed for use by a bank and has been used both as a bank and for small offices since then. On this slide, we're looking at the Madison Street elevations. The Madison Street wing was most recently used as transient rental, which I mentioned earlier. This slide shows the primary vehicular entrance to the site. It is adjacent to a single-family residence on Columbus Ave. The proposed use of this property falls within the public facilities zoning district, specifically the subcategory called welfare uses in section 1123.02. Welfare uses includes hospitals, mental and special hospitals, and institutional living. Even more specifically, the proposed use is what is called a convalescing home, which simply put is a place where one recovers from sickness or debility. The proposed convalescing home would include housing and office space for the Recovery Institute of Ohio, or RIO, for their substance abuse rehabilitation program. This program would provide housing, limited on-site treatment, 24-hour staffing, and transportation for clients. The applicant proposed to operate this site in conjunction with their existing treatment facility where primary detox and the main amount of treatment for their clients takes place. The proposed home would house 20 to 25 individuals on site, plus 4 to 6 staff members at all time. This is essentially intermediate housing after that initial detox period, and the stays would range from 2 to 6 weeks on the property. The proposed services to take place on-site include individual therapy and limited group therapy sessions, which would be provided only for occupants. So they're not expecting any additional clients to come to the site for therapy. The proposed building configuration is 16 bedrooms arranged in 2 5-bedroom units and 3 2-bedroom units. And we have those floor plans coming up. Additionally, there would be 6 office spaces, 1 conference room, a large gathering room, restrooms, laundry, and storage. The exact square footages were provided in the staff report prior to this meeting, as they were to the Planning Commission prior to that meeting. So on this slide, you can see the proposed site plan that was sent to us prior to the June 25th Planning Commission meeting. On this site plan, both parcels are outlined in red, spanning from Columbus Ave to Jackson Street. The primary building is outlined in yellow. Within that outline, you can see the different wings of the building. The dark gray roof is the 2-story wing facing Columbus Ave. The light shade roof is the Madison Street portion, and then the portion not included that looks like it's part of it is that drive-through that we saw in the pictures earlier. The applicant did note future intentions to install a basketball court or picnic benches, but no drawing or specific design intent were provided for that outdoor recreation. So this is the set of floor plans facing Madison Street, with the top of this page being the street, the bottom of the page being the parking lot internal to the site. On this floor plan, you can see 3 units all around 900 square feet each in a shared laundry area. Each of those units has 2 bedrooms, and all of those are already complete as part of the previously approved transient rentals on the western wing. This slide shows the Columbus Ave wing of the building, which is, again, 2 stories tall. The proposed interior work and associated change of use would be in this wing. This slide shows the plans for the first floor with a 5-bedroom unit outlined in orange. The non-highlighted area on the bottom of the image includes a large gathering room, 2 offices, additional restrooms, and storage. This slide shows the floor plan for the second story. You can see the second 5-bedroom unit within the outline. The remaining square footage would include a conference room and 4 offices. Additional information provided by the applicant included that several staff credentials. Prior to the June 25th Planning Commission meeting, we requested as many things as we could think to ask for to prepare our City Planning Commission for this conversation. So the applicant mentioned that their staff is credentialed and have various certifications such as therapy and nursing. They also mentioned that the clientele is voluntary, that they only take private insurance, meaning the treatment they provide is not through public insurance nor is it court ordered, and that they conduct background checks on clientele, presumably before treatment begins. They further mentioned that the site would be secured with security cameras and by granting limited access on and off the site. To that point, the doors used for primary access in and out of the building would face in toward the parking lot, with the doors facing Columbus Ave and Madison Street not being accessible from the sidewalk and would be equipped with access codes only held by staff. Furthermore, there would be limited visitation allowed on the site, and they stated that there are specific terms or rules for when clientele are permitted off-site, and that they would primarily remain on-site outside of being bused elsewhere for treatment. So that was the first half. Now I will walk you through staff's analysis of this proposed conditional use. This is the same analysis that was provided to our City Planning Commission at that June 25th meeting. So in general, when we get conditional use permit applications, we evaluate them against specific standards based on the property's zoning district classification. This case has been evaluated according to both the set of standards for residential districts and business district, which I will walk through both of them. For residential districts, there are three standards which were touched on by the appellant. The first standard requires staff to evaluate whether the proposed use is properly located in relation to any adopted land use plan or major thoroughfare plan, secondary and local streets, and pedestrian circulation in the surrounding area. In this case, the city's bicentennial comprehensive plan emphasizes the preservation of historic housing and stabilization of neighborhoods. The site in question is located in the central neighborhood, which calls for walkable, intact neighborhoods and the preservation of historic housing stock. The surrounding area is a mix of historic single-family homes and small businesses. Generally, they're low traffic and intermittently occupied, such as churches, the funeral home, and there is one place of assembly that is a food and alcohol serving establishment across the street. Down the block, there's also another place of assembly as well. The existing pedestrian circulation is made up of a mixture of residents and business guests, including neighborhood students walking to and from the three schools in the area. The second conditional use standard in the residential district is that the proposed use, when located on a residential street, is to generate a minimum amount of vehicular traffic through the residential neighborhood. In this case, it is not expected to generate a large amount of vehicular traffic. Clients will not have their own vehicles. They would be bused to and from the site for other services. Moving on, the third standard for the residential district is that the location, design, and operation of the proposed use will not discourage the appropriate development or impair the value of the surrounding residential district. In this case, the transient nature of the occupants with 2 to week stays is a consideration from the perspective of neighborhood stabilization. The previous office use, as built, was quiet during the evenings and weekends, as opposed to the proposed use, which will have the occupants confined to the property in the evenings. After we received this application in April, we heard a number of residents' concerns that the proposed use would destabilize the neighborhood and impair the value of residential properties. Several of these residents went on the record and said as much during the June 25th Planning Commission meeting. So our second and last set of standards includes for the business, commercial, and manufacturing districts. Again, there are 6 standards. The first standard is whether the proposed use is necessary to serve community needs and existing similar facilities located in a more remote district in which the use is permitted by right are inadequate. Staff's analysis states that a more remote district would be more appropriate for the convalescing home due to the proposed site being within a neighborhood and its proximity to schools and alcohol selling establishments. The second standard out of 6 is that the proposed use is not closer than appropriate in the particular situation to schools, churches, and other places of assembly. On the Jackson Street or west side of this particular site, the Sandusky Digital Learning Center is directly across the street. Including that learning center, the property in question is within 300 feet of another school, a church, and 5 places of assembly. If you expand that to a 500-foot radius, it adds another school, church, and place of assembly respectively. Third out of 6 is that the size, intensity, and site plan of the proposed use shall be such that an operation will not be objectionable to nearby dwellings by reason of noise, smoke, dust, odors, fumes, vibrations, or glare that is more than normal or as permitted by the performance standards of the district. Due to the concentration of clientele and staff, we do expect evening and overnight noise to be a concern. The occupants are generally confined to the facility in the evening, early morning, and overnight hours. The fourth standard is that the proposed use will form a harmonious part of the business, commercial, or manufacturing district, taking into account, among others, convenience of access and relationship of one use to another. Again, this site is immediately surrounded by single-family residential uses and is within 1 and 2 blocks of existing schools, churches, and places of assembly. Staff's concern is that it would be inharmonious with long-term residential uses, especially considering the relative lack of setbacks between the buildings and the neighborhood. For reference, if this were to be built brand new, the Public Facilities District would require at least 200-foot setbacks on the rear and side yard. For reference, in this case, we have about, give or take, 10 feet in between buildings. The fifth standard is that the proposed use should be permitted in the next least restrictive district because of its limited nature, modern devices, equipment, or improvements. Public facilities land uses, including the welfare subcategory, may be permitted in the residential district if they are issued a conditional use permit from the Planning Commission. Staff is not aware of modern improvements or devices that would make the proposed use more compatible in this district than any other. Sixth and final standard is that the hours of operation and concentration of vehicles in connection with the proposed use will not be more hazardous or dangerous than the normal traffic of the district. Again, this is not expected to create an excessive concentration of vehicles or traffic. Other considerations and information to consider include, again, restating a couple, new construction of this type of land use would require much larger setbacks. 2 is that there is a lack of administrative capacity to monitor the applicant's proposed safeguard, which were alluded to, and I can restate in a moment. Third is that to the best of staff's knowledge, the facility is currently occupied in a manner that is out of compliance with the Planning and Zoning Code despite staff's notification. And finally, that there have been continued complaints and concern from surrounding residential property owners. So in summary, staff's analysis points to concerns that the proposed land use is not harmonious with surrounding land uses, has the potential to destabilize the neighborhood due to the concentration of individuals on the site and the frequent turnover of occupants, is closer than appropriate to local schools, and that it may discourage development considered more appropriate to the area according to the comprehensive plan. For all of these reasons, staff recommended that the Planning Commission consider denying the conditional use permit request. Again, at their regularly scheduled meeting on June 25th, 2025, the Planning Commission unanimously voted to deny the request. Finally, since that meeting, the applicant has proposed additional safeguards in their appeal, including soundproofing, limited outdoor time, and a fenced-in outdoor area. The applicant's proposal does not affect staff's summary analysis, which is that the proposed use at this location is not appropriate according to the standards for evaluation of conditional use permits. Therefore, staff recommends that City Commission deny the appeal. Thank you.
Commissioners, questions for the Planning Department representative? Any public questions? Any questions from the public regarding the Planning Commission?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Monk.
may I give comments or is it questions only?
Question or comment?
Come on, I have some
It's a public hearing.
Thank you. My name is Carl McGookie. I live at 615 Columbus Avenue, which is 2 doors down on the Columbus Avenue side, but this property does jut. That little carve-out goes back to the back of my property as well, where they currently have a basketball hoop in that cutout area. I've lived at 615 Columbus Avenue for 42 years. We have several objections to the proposed use of the property, both based on the proposal presented as well as observed issues with the operation has been ongoing since mid-March. without appropriate approvals. I believe the facility is best located elsewhere other than on the busiest corridor of the city of Sandusky. Most facilities of this type are located in a more suburban or rural locations to provide residents adequate recreational and green space, neither of which is available at this location. The proposal would change the complexion of the neighborhood, contrary to the comments. Why it isn't a total residential neighborhood, it is predominantly residents. There are 7 residences and 4 businesses. One of the businesses is a funeral home that has intermittent occupancy, and the other businesses, including what were the offices at 603, did not impose noise or other issues with the neighbors. But again, it's a mixed use historically, but mostly quiet for residential homes. With the activity I've seen thus far and the behavior of the residents in their recreation and conversations outdoors, I can see it becoming more similar to a college dorm atmosphere than anything else, with the issues that we've seen with the limited number of residents, which I think they've indicated have been 5 to 7 over the period since March. I believe property values will be negatively impacted if the proposal is approved. We've seen an interest in a resurgence in interest in home ownership in our neighborhood and surrounding neighborhoods with the revitalization of downtown in recent years. This facility could make potential buyers hesitant to purchase property in our neighborhood. Since 2021, I have put hundreds of thousands in improvements to my property. Old historic homes require care. I would have been certainly thought twice before making some of those improvements if this facility had been on the corner. In addition to the impact on property values, noise is my primary complaint that we've had thus far with the operation. Much more than any time in the past 4 years since in the early AM and the evening hours. Much more so than any of the previous occupants of that property on the corner. We experienced loud conversations between residents in the parking lot and outside residential units as early as 5:30 in the morning. And this, if he said that they were going to cut noise down before 7 in AM and after 7 PM, I have not seen that yet. I'm out on my back porch, and I get out there some mornings, many mornings, by 7:15, and there are conversations already going when I get out on my porch. We hear conversations and yelling between units during the afternoon and evening hours when they're back between meetings, and sometimes we've noted conversations that have gone past 10 PM on weekdays. Obviously, that's not acceptable. Again, if they're proposing 20 to 25 residents, that would just increase the amount of noise that the neighbors would experience. And again, in conversation, or in response to Mr. Nacon's comments about it wouldn't be a change in the Airbnb, in the years since 2022 until mid-March, I noticed one weekend when the Airbnb residents were out in the parking lot and having I'll call it tailgate party, and that's when the contractors who were doing the installation of the fiber optic networks were staying there, and it was the first weekend they had off, and they were watching a Sunday football game. So I really didn't have a problem. I hadn't heard a peep out of those people up until then. Again, the primary recreation activity we have noted is cornhole, or as I like to call it, torture by cornhole. You have time to time the constant thud of beanbags being thrown, landing on wood during the games. And since the Planning Commission meeting, a basketball hoop has been added, and that also gets regular use. I can't imagine how noisy that basketball court would be if there were 20 to 25 residents out there playing basketball. It just isn't set up for it. Supervision and control of residents. I have an issue. On one occasion, I went over, and this was after the Planning Commission meeting. The residents were outside at 8 to 8:15 on a Sunday morning playing cornhole. I went over and asked them if they could be quiet, that I really like my contemplation time before going to church. I was introduced to Zach, who was in charge, and asked him to have the residents stop the cornhole this early on weekends. Another gentleman interrupted and took over the conversation and said, "We will be leaving soon, and I don't see why we have to stop playing cornhole." I indicated I would like it quiet now before leaving for church, and I indicated if the noise didn't stop, I'd call SPD, and they said, "You do that." So I went home. The residents who were playing cornhole started deliberately standing over the cornhole receptacles, slamming the beanbags down. This was at 8:30 on a Sunday morning. I called SPD. They came by about at 8:45 or maybe a little later as they were wrapping up their game, as they had a session that morning to go to. But this is the type of behavior that I would be concerned would become worse as they triple or quadruple the density of the residents there. That's not being a good neighbor, as they say they want to be. They have never contacted me. The only contact I have had is when I've gone over twice now to talk to employees, once to find out what was going on over there, and the second to express concern about noise. I will also say, even though it's not in the application, the one employee I talked to indicated that they would be doing treatment and doing most of their large group at this location. In addition, just as evidence that they are treating people there, when I went over to talk to the supervisor, he had to lock up a medicine cabinet before he came out, so they're obviously dispensing medications there as well. So that's my final comment. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. McCookie. Any questions from commission or from the public? Yes, ma'am. Sure. And we only ask you to identify yourself and your residence so we have it in our records.
Understood. My name is Kathy Goff. I live at 610 Columbus Ave, directly across the street from this facility. And my biggest concern is that we do have 3 schools within less than a block to this place. We are so careful with drug dealers and how close they can get to schools. Yes, I understand they're recovering, but there's also the possibility of relapse. We do not need this so close to elementary schools. I think that they could be taken advantage of. Even though these people come in and out, I watch the vans pull in and pull out. But it still bothers me that we are so close to schools. And I think that should be an overriding factor. I understand from the presentation, residents will be moving in and out a period of 6 weeks or so. But like Mr. McCookie and myself, we're living there. And my home is a family home. It's designed to take in a family. If I choose to sell, nobody's going to want that house because of what's across the street. I mean, I purposely have that house because I was teaching at St. Mary's. I could walk to school. I had that house because I wanted to go to the library. I wanted to be able to walk to St. Mary's Church. I wanted to be able to walk to St. Peter and Paul's. I wanted to be able to walk to Holy Angels. I was in that house because I wanted to be able to take advantage of all the amenities that the downtown has to offer. People are not going to want that. They're not going to want to move into 600 block of Columbus Ave because this offsets that. Another factor, and I hate to equate them with sexual predators, but when sexual predators move into the neighborhood, we're notified by mail. We were not notified that this was going down in our neighborhood. It was after the fact. And I had been gone through the month of May. I came home, and within the first 2 weeks of being home in May, and I was telling fire chief about it, an ambulance pulled up. A gurney went in, and a gurney came out. And the ambulance left without putting on any lights. What message does that send to prospective homeowners in our area? What message does that send to people going downtown and taking part in activities downtown? You, city, have spent a lot of time remodeling and beautifying, whatever you want to use the verb for that, of setting this downtown up to be successful and to have a facility like this so close to the downtown steps us back. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Coleman. Additional questions? Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor. My name is Abby Bemis. I live at 613 Columbus Ave. I really don't have much to add than what's already been said tonight between the staff report and other residents' comments. I did just want to remark as the property next door that we have experienced both this operation and 2 years of Airbnbs. They are not the same. The experience as a resident, it's not the same. Visitors are coming to this area with an intention to go out during the day. They come back, they go to sleep. I don't know about you all, but you're not frequently barbecuing, cornholing, basketball hoop with your Airbnb residents. At least I'm not when I visit places. It's not a campground, but it's acting like one. The college dorm comparison really hits home for me in terms of our daily experience there as residents. And in terms of property value, again, I can assure you I would not have purchased my home if it was adjacent to this use. It's not been a good experience for myself, my husband, and our 4 kids. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Bemis. Additional comments or questions from the public or from commission?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Murray.
I move to affirm the decision of the Planning Commission, deny the appeal.
Second.
A motion?
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second discussion. Ms. Myers, you poll the commission on that motion.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
No.
Mr. Brady?
Mr. Hastings, will you share with me, I've lost track of how we're voting here as far as yes and no.
A vote of yes will affirm the decision of the Planning Commission to reject the conditional use permit.
I vote yes.
Okay.
Do you want me to reread the names now that they have that understanding?
Can we do that? I'm not sure you can do that. Can you do that?
I think well, it's up to you, the commission, but
It's up to me.
well, we see how it turns out.
Well, with clarity from you on how we're voting on a motion, my understanding now is that a yes vote affirms the decision to deny the conditional use permit. Is that
Correct.
I would ask that you start the roll call again.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Bajali?
Yes.
Mr. Kuntz?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
That motion is passed and that denial is rejected. Next order of business, and anyone that's here for that particular portion of the meeting, they're certainly entitled to leave at this point. Don't want to bore you with another hour and a half or 2 hours of meeting.
It was, he said denial was rejected, but it's approved.
Denial.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you misstated it, but it doesn't matter because we took the vote that we had. Yeah, I know. I could tell you. Yeah.
Next, we have a public hearing on our CAPER fiscal year 2024. That'll be delivered by our own Nicole Groy, our program administrator. Ms. Groy, because We spent so much time on that last order of business, I'm only going to allow you 10 seconds.
Sounds great.
I know you're thrilled about that.
I will keep it short, I promise. Perfect. All right. So we're going to do the CAPER tonight. It is going over the program year 24 for the CDBG program. The CAPER is the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report. Just a quick summary, the City of Sandusky, my slides got mixed up, there we go. The City of Sandusky's program year 24 began in July 1st of 2024 and it ended June 30th of 2025. And this report looks at the different goals listed in our consolidated plan, which is the 5-year plan that was updated in 2024. For the year of 24, the city was allocated $715,533. And as of a few weeks ago, we had spent 77% or $553,000. And we are on track to spend the rest of it. We're just waiting on things to catch up. So doing okay there. This is a chart showing all the different goals of the consolidated plan on the far left, and then the action plan amounts that were allocated in program year 24. And then the next column shows the amount of funds that were used. All these measures and goals were all listed from action plans or consolidated plans. I'm not going to go through all of them. We have a little bit more detail in the next slides. So one of the main goals is housing. And for housing, the goal is to provide affordable housing and remove barriers for fair housing. So the city has a fair housing consultant, and this year he fielded 99 calls. And he was given $9,500 for those services. They also did fair housing outreach. The city also demolished 4 different structures in the last year. They were 937 West Washington, 224 Seavers Way, 717 Warren Street, and 730 Lockwood, just the garage. And we used carryover funds for that, so none of the program year 24 funds were used. And I'm just going to round to make it easier, about $254,000 for that. And then the last point for housing, there is rehabilitation program that we did. We worked with the Erie County Health Department to extend dollars in their lead hazard and healthy homes program. This year, we've already done actually 12 houses. I just turned one in last week, and we've spent $150,000 on that. The picture on the right is 937 Washington. The top was before, and then the cleared lots on the bottom. Neighborhood stabilization is the next larger goal for the consolidated plan. For our actions, we want to enhance the quality of life for people living in low and low-moderate neighborhoods through public investments. So for the last program year, we had community development activities, and that included recreation and transit activities. That was about $158,000. Park improvements were done, including seating improvements at AMVET's Schaefer Park Playground, and the Huron Park splash pad had some repairs done. Transit waiting facilities were also improved. There were 3 sites that we are putting transit shelters in, and then there were also 8 trash cans put in total with all the locations listed up there. The last point is public facilities. We used $346,000 to do 5 different segments or blocks of Pierce Street. The top picture is one of the transit signs with one of the trash cans that we installed, and then the bottom one is Schaefer Park with the new playground that was just installed. Special needs assistance is another goal here, and that is to promote public services for special need populations. Code violations actually probably should have went on the previous slide, but that's all right. It's not really a special needs thing, but what we did this year was 699 code violations were recorded during the reimbursement period for staff time. In total, there were 497 enforcements, and 71% of those resulted in compliance. And the total cost for that activity was $108,000. The youth program, that is through Mills School, engaged 952 youths during the program year, and that totaled $51,000. There were 427 people assisted through subrecipient program grants, which this year we had Erie County Senior Center, Meals on Wheels program. We supported OGO for their mobile food pantry and Father's Heart Church. So the total of that was $62,000. And then we also supported New Jerusalem Church. That was a subrecipient from program year 23. So those were carryover funds. They were not program year 24. And that helped with the cooling and warming shelter. Briefly, these are the eligible census blocks and target areas. The areas highlighted in green are eligible directly for CDBG projects, though grays are not. For low mod target areas, we have to look at that for the CAPER. Low mod is one of the areas of a national objective that a project can fall under. So one of these things is called low moderate area, and through HUD, it's given its designation. We don't determine this, HUD does through census data. Anyways, in program year 24, there were 36 projects at national objective. There was also a public comment period for this. The CAPER was up on the website from August 21st to September 5th. It was also available in City Hall and also at the Sandusky Library. On top of that, there was a public hearing that is held now. So there was a CPAC meeting. I'm sorry, I didn't put that in there. So from the CPAC meeting, there was a question if property owners would be billed back for the cost of their demolitions, and they will be. And then there was also an inquiry about park design and ADA standards, in which any equipment we do put in a park is ADA compliance. So sorry for that. I did put the wrong slide in there, but that is the end of my presentation.
This is a public hearing. We'll entertain questions from the public as well as from commission on this topic. Any questions from the public?
Tim Schwanger, 362 Sheffield Way. If Nicole could back up to maybe, I think it was the second slide, I had some questions on it.
Did you want the chart? What were you looking for?
It would have been the second.
This is the second one. Do you want the third one?
Yeah, that's the one right there, I think.
That's the chart.
So my question is, it looks like we're using 118,000 and change for administration and planning. There's also a figure in there for code enforcement. It looks like another $107,000 and change. Is that $107,000 and change, is that for salary, or is that actually money that went out into the community to fix the code enforcement issues?
So to answer that question, the $107,000 is for code enforcement staff going to CDBG eligible properties to inspect them. It is not to fix them.
Okay, so we're basically spending $25,000 on salaries, wages, and benefits. You know, folks, we have a record. The last 5 years, we've had a record income budget. Maybe we should start using some of that income budget towards code enforcement salary and taking that $170,000 and change and putting it back into housing where it should be at, instead of spending so much money on administration. Thank you.
Additional comments from Commissioner or from the public? If not, I will declare this public hearing closed, and Ms. Groh, you have grossly exaggerated your time.
I'm sorry. Thank you, though.
Thank you, Ms. Groh. Next, we have a presentation on Safe Streets for All, and I'll ask Mr. Klein to make the introduction.
So just real quickly, in the bicentennial plan and in the most recent strategic plan that was approved, we've really tried to focus on livability in that neighborhood component of the community and connectivity. The goal has been to provide safe access from all of our neighborhoods, low-income, diverse neighborhoods throughout the city, to all of our amenities, the parks, the waterfront, the Sandusky Bay Pathway. So in 2023, we applied for $250,000 worth of funding. We were awarded $200,000, put the other $50,000 in, and that's where we hired WSP to create the Safe Streets for All action plan. This plan really focused on exactly what we were looking at doing in the neighborhoods, creating that livability, creating that improved quality of life for all the residents, no matter who they were. So Nora is here to give a presentation on what that plan is. We'll be back at the next commission meeting with the request to adopt that plan so we can move forward with implementing some of the portions of it. So.
Nora Anderson with WSP. Address is 1660 West 2nd Street, Cleveland, Ohio, 44113. On the Planning Commission, I know rules. Okay, so like Aaron said, we, with Aaron and the rest of his team, developed a Safe Streets Action Plan, and that funding received by USDOT coming out of the bipartisan infrastructure law and their Safe Streets for All program that was created as part of that. So the focus of that program was really to address safety, traffic, and transportation safety concerns in community, and that really folds into what a livable community is you feel safe moving around in it no matter what form of transportation you're taking, right? And ideally you feel safe moving around of it in all forms of transportation that you could possibly take. So it'll be a little longer than 10 seconds, but I'll promise to keep this short. And so just a quick summary of what I'll dive into a little bit is kind of the outline of the plan and the steps that were, the parts of the plan that were required as part of the agreement with USDOT for that. And that includes committing to safety on our streets. We looked at the need for those safety improvements, used crash data and other elements to review that, focusing on safety as a shared responsibility, and we all play a part in that. And so we had some community engagement in there, and then we took that feedback from the community and the data assessment that we did and developed an action plan out of that, and what some next steps will be. So kind of that first component is that commitment to safety. So part of the plan identifies a goal of getting to 0 fatalities and serious injuries as required by USDOT. And we decided to look out to the year 2050. So this is a goal in trying to achieve that through the steps identified in this plan and the steps that Sandusky is already taking to make the streets a safer and more livable place. And that includes a commitment of resources, and that's the resources that the city has already dedicated to that as part of the grant agreements with USDOT, the commitment to continue building upon all of the planning work that has already been completed and the work that you are already doing, and really just being transparent about that process, evaluating what strategies work, what strategies don't, and being transparent with the community and residents on how things are going. And really, like Aaron was mentioning, focusing on the health and well-being of residents. So that everybody can move around the community safely and get to all the great investments that have been recently made in the community. So after that, we really started with the data analysis part of the plan. This map here just shows kind of the high-level assessment of the city street network, where we looked at not only crash data, but we also looked at street characteristics, traffic volumes, how wide the streets are, how many lanes there are, how many intersections there are. Those are all components that feed into how likely crashes are to occur on roadways and at intersections. So we kind of looked at all of that together and identified kind of the hot spots within the community, and we specifically also focused on pedestrians and cyclists as they are our most vulnerable road users, and so we really wanted to kind of call those out separately in addition to the hot spots, because sometimes hot spots can be overshadowed by just vehicle-to-vehicle crashes, and we really want to make sure that everybody feels safe, getting from their neighborhood to the waterfront or elsewhere, parks in the community. And so, really a quick summary is just that we looked at from 2014 to 2023, there were over 5,000 crashes that happened within the city of Sandusky. And 128 of those crashes resulted in a serious injury or fatality. So, it's about 12, 13 a year that we would love to reduce. And out of that analysis kind of came up some key focused areas. So that includes what we deemed high-risk infrastructure, so where crashes most likely to occur. We saw a lot of crashes happening mid-block, so not at an intersection, and where you might see a lot more conflict out of vehicles. So we dove a little bit deeper into that, focused on safety zones, so specifically around schools and other areas, and especially with the recently completed Safe Routes to School plan that the Health Department and the Sandusky City Schools completed, so making sure that we were being consistent with those recommendations as well. Really, again, focusing on those vulnerable road users in addition to pedestrians and cyclists, also noting that there was some high crash trends in younger drivers, so anybody that's defined as anybody under the age of 25, being the at-fault driver in an accident, and then looking at additional contributing factors like failure to yield, those resulting in a lot of angle crashes at intersections. Angle crashes are typically more likely to result in a serious injury or fatality based on the nature of those crashes. And then kind of combining that all together and looking holistically at the problem of improving safety on our roadway networks through the Safe Systems approach, which is a USDOT approach, holistic approach to looking at safety, not just from an infrastructure built perspective, but also considering, enforcement, speeds, us as individual drivers, taking responsibility into everything that we do on the roadway. And so kind of keeping with that theme of safety as a shared responsibility, we had some public outreach as part of this process. We had community meetings, participated in Safety Town. And the biggest thing is we completed a survey where we got 730 respondents. And you'll see here on the screen, these were kind of some of the top safety concerns that we got from out of that survey that really kind of emphasized that safety is a shared responsibility. We got a lot of comments of, other motorists are not following the law, or they're speeding or driving distracted. And, that really leads into people not feeling safe getting around their community, not feeling safe walking or biking to, their nearby park, not feeling safe crossing the street, which was, one of our top street improvement priorities. So really that feedback does feed into the focus on making Sandusky livable, right? It all feeds into making sure that we feel safe in our community and want to be able to travel around it. And one of the things we really emphasized when we were completing this survey within the community is making sure that we were getting representation from all neighborhoods. So the chart on the bottom corner of the screen just kind of shows the breakdown of each neighborhood against the city population and the participation we got in the survey. So we got pretty close to kind of equaling out, where residents are currently living and getting responses from those neighborhoods. And we pulled all of that in together to develop the action plan part of this. So we took the data analysis that we did, the community feedback that we got, and we folded that in with best practices and countermeasures from around the country to identify not only project locations, but potential projects to look at, which I'll dive into a little bit deeper here. So for project prioritization, we took that map I showed earlier. We took existing planning documents that the city has already created, the community feedback. We specifically looked from an equity standpoint at, census tracts with higher percentages of households without access to vehicles or lack of transit options, where your mobility options are very limited, and factor that into making sure that we were distributing potential projects and those prioritizations around the city. So this map highlights some of those, and the plan obviously dives a lot deeper into this. And so we created that project location priority list to work on, and look to implement some pilot projects within the next step of this with the second grant for the demonstration funding. And we also made some potential recommendations for those type of projects, specifically, again, focusing on the livability and access to the community for pedestrians and cyclists. So looking at different recommendations for bike paths, bike lanes around the community, as well as traffic calming in the neighborhoods is a really big one. And as part of that, we created traffic calming standards to use as a guideline for the city to help make implementation a lot more streamlined and easier and consistent around the community. And those focus on vertical deflection, which would be your speed tables, speed cushions to help slow down traffic. Some horizontal alignment changes like curb bump outs to shorten crossing distances, mini roundabouts to help control intersection behaviors, and then definitely those pedestrian and cyclist accommodations, a variety of type of bike lanes, as well as crossing treatments for pedestrians to get across the street safer. And so tried to go pretty fast around all that, so I'll take any questions that you have. But the next steps, I believe, are going to be, looking to implement that second grant agreement with the demonstration projects to implement some of these strategies identified in the plan and test out a few different traffic calming measures and stuff like that to continue getting feedback from the community on what's working and what's not. Again, continuing to look at different funding opportunities, not just federally, but statewide through the Safe School program isn't always an option, while also continuing to promote that culture of safety. It's not just roadway projects that are going to help us achieve this goal of having no one die on our roadways. It's going to be, through a culture of safety, all of us taking a personal responsibility when we're out on the roadway and interacting with others. Transportation is really the main way we interact within our community as we're going from point A to point B, even though most times it doesn't feel like that when we're in our car by ourselves. At least we hope no one else can hear us singing. And so, but we are interacting with every other driver we pass on the roadway when we do that. And so we all share in that responsibility. And then, in addition to all of this, continuing to engage with the community and residents and collect their feedback, and as projects are implemented, getting feedback on what works, what doesn't, so that we can all work together to make our roadways safer and our community a better place. So I guess I will take questions or turn it back over to Aaron if he has any final comments.
Questions or comments, Commissioners?
Just really quickly, rather than dragging out this portion of the meeting, will you be here after the meeting that we could chat?
Yeah, absolutely. I can stick around for that.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I had a quick question. The US DOT goal of 0 fatalities by 2050, that's a pretty lofty goal. Do you know if they base that on technology and smart vehicles and that type of thing?
It's up to every community to establish the goal that they would like to work towards. I think it's often touted that if you aren't working towards 0, does that mean you find a death acceptable? And so it's like, it is a lofty goal, but if we're not working towards 0, what are we comfortable working towards? So
yeah, just Mr. Chairman, in my past experience, it seems like they would build in a percentage, or
some communities do elect to do a percentage breakdown for the size that Sandusky is, even, a small percentage, you're rounding that up, you're still trying to reduce it by maybe a crash a year. For, I guess, our case where we're having about an average of 13 fatal or serious injury crashes every year, you're looking at trying to reduce it 1 every 2 years from now until 2050, right? 25 years, so.
Thank you.
The number that you shared with us of 5,000 crashes over a 10-year period,
yep, to
me seems astonishing for Sandusky, meaning we've had over 500 car crashes a year in the city of Sandusky.
Yeah, and that does include everything, from a fender bender, everything that gets reported. So that is technically only reported crashes.
This program is a wonderful program. It's obviously designed to reduce injury and save lives.
100%.
And I think we'll have an obligation to try to move in that direction. I agree with Commissioner Pajali. Getting to 0 is a very lofty goal. I know you got to set goals, but that's really up there. But doesn't mean we don't work towards that.
Absolutely, yeah. And just to reiterate, the setting of the goal is part of the requirements of the grant process.
Additional comments, Commissioner? Mr. Klein.
Just real quick, I just wanted to point out that I thought it would not be a good procedure to send the document without a presentation to kind of run you through it. So we'll send it tomorrow, make sure everybody has it before we come back at the next commission meeting. So that way you guys are now a little more familiar with it and you can dive into it a little bit more. Feel free to email, ask questions, reach out to me. If I don't have the answer, I can ask Nora and we can get you guys answers to any of those things. All right?
Thank you, Mr. Klein. Thank you, Ms. Anderson, for being here.
Thank you for your time.
Next presentation is regarding our urban forest. It's going to be delivered by our own Elizabeth Slicki, our service coordinator. Are you as excited as Ms. Grohe is?
I may have forgotten what I'm supposed to say.
Sorry.
I was so ready.
Tree's good.
All right, I'm Elizabeth. I have the honor of working with Aaron Klein and Scott Cromer in the Department of Public Works, where forestry is one of the many divisions that we manage, and it's a true pleasure to be speaking with you about one of my favorite things, which is our urban forest. In particular, the trees planted in boulevards or tree lawns and parks throughout the city. I want to speak first to how Sandusky's urban forest provides many benefits to its residents. Trees help absorb the sounds of traffic in urban areas by 40%. Neighborhoods with trees are 7 to 9 degrees cooler than those without, and trees reduce energy costs up to 25% by shading buildings and protecting them from winter winds. Homes with trees have higher property values. Green space plays a major role in improving mental and physical health. And planting and maintaining trees absorbs carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, mitigating the effects of climate change. What's not to love? Well, our number one complaint or reason for not wanting a tree planted is that they're messy. So trees are considered messy because they naturally drop organic materials as part of their life cycle. And to survive changing seasons, the mess is a normal process. Humans are also messy, by the way. Full disclosure, I have 2 mature oaks, and while they keep us busy, especially as the acorns drop this time of year, boy, do we ever love them as if they were our pets. That said, tree science has evolved, and our arborist does his research and works to obtain lower maintenance trees. This we all know. We've seen some pretty serious storm damage over the past few years. Whenever storms hit, our crews are on the scene doing their best to mitigate damage and facilitate cleanup, as well as long-term maintenance for surviving trees. Anytime a damaged tree remains, our certified arborist does take a look and decide what to do moving forward. So what are we doing today and moving forward? I want to talk a little bit about our current urban forestry program. Our staff play a major role in laying the groundwork for a healthy and holistic urban canopy. Thanks to the passage of Issue 8, we have made incredible progress in the last decade, adding staff, equipment, resources. We do this with the unique support from our Tree Commission. While we operate with a small staff to maintain roughly 10,000 trees, our tree inventory is comparable to our utilities inventory, and yet we have about 1/3 of the staff. We have a long-term aim to maintain the health and vigor of trees, plant the largest suitable tree for each site, and increase the tree canopy cover. On this last point specifically, I wanted to share some photos from some of our past tree planting events, mostly Arbor Day, but one's Earth Day, which we treasure because it unites all that hard work with community connection and education among our youth. So here we have, in 2022, we worked with Monroe Prep to plant trees across the street at the greenhouse. And then we also, Sandusky Central Catholic seniors raised money for red maples along Decatur. In 2023, we planted locusts on Buchanan along the newly built Sandusky Intermediate, and the entire 3rd grade class came and helped. In 2024, we invited students from RCAAS, which is 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, to plant trees in Huron Park. And then in 2025, you see forestry staff, actually. This is one of my favorite pictures because there really is a science to planting trees. We planted at the library. These next few slides I will touch lightly on, as they are established practices among our staff, and that's what you trust us to do. But they may help inform all that goes into building on and developing our urban forest. So right tree, right place is essentially a password into the forestry community. Anytime you say it in front of a forestry expert, they kind of laugh. Trees are selected to match the hardiness of the tree to the difficulty of the site and the appropriate size of the tree to each site. As we know, we have different sized boulevards in our city. Put simply, we want tree diversity to prevent from major tree loss due to disease or invasive pests. We've all seen the lantern flies, or most of us, they're here. As much as we like big, beautiful trees, our arborist has to be thoughtful and creative when selecting due to factors such as boulevard size and overhead power lines. The proper planting of a tree is essential to its growth, and there are common misperceptions. Our trees are planted adhering to current standards outlined by the International Society of Arboriculture and the current edition of the American Standards Institute, which in the forestry world, you'll just hear it said ANSI. Our arborist has performed a proper mulching demonstration a few years ago at the library, which is regularly shared via social media networks. Volcano mulching, which we see commonly at local stores in subdivisions and spaces that have been professionally landscaped, is harmful to the long-term health of trees. To the right, you'll see where the check mark is, the proper mulching. No mulch is touching the bark, the trunk flare is visible, and the rule of thumb is kind of spreading out the mulch instead of condensing it up against the tree trunk. So planting aftercare is huge. We want to plant all these trees, but trees aren't going to thrive if we can't then take care of them. So watering newly planted trees is absolutely essential, so much so that we have specific equipment and staff set aside for this singular task that is not small when factoring in our hundreds of young trees. All recently planted trees are watered weekly from spring to fall based on prevailing weather conditions, and we also ask our residents to water their tree once a week if they are able. Then we move on to young tree training. I love this graphic. To your left, you're going to see trees that were not young tree trained, and to your right, you'll see trees that have been trained. So young tree training is essential, and our arborist is really passionate about this. Our certified arborist has created zones within the city, and each year we try to trim all the designated trees in a specific zone. All newly planted trees are added to the program. The young tree training program is vital in establishing young trees that will thrive in an urban environment and possibly weather strong storms, et cetera, and have the longest possible life in their space. We would be remiss not to thank you for approving key upgrades to our equipment so our staff can work more safely and efficiently. Pictured here is our new fully functioning bucket truck, as well as our Avant, which is just a beloved piece of equipment, so thank you. It's rather versatile. You'll note on the left that it has an attachment that's helping with planting, but then in the middle, there's a different standard attachment. So lots you can do with a very small machine in various size boulevards. This slide is a tad busy for my taste, but it turns out so are we. Using door tags, we do our best to communicate with residents when maintenance occurs. Again, we have a small staff, so we're usually on the go. So we're often leaving communications at your door in your mailbox. Plus, fun fact that inspired our newest door tag, stump removal occurs at a later date than tree removal due to the use of equipment. So we take out different equipment when we're removing 10-year tree, and then new equipment when we're doing stump removal. Residents are asked to contact us directly if they wish to have a replacement tree once their tree is removed. But here's just a sampling of things that people may find on their doors. We're always doing our best to communicate. Work between field and administrative staff has been streamlined through the use of the Geographic Information System, GIS, where all city trees have been inventoried. The public view of tree inventory is a unique tool that residents who are interested can use to see a variety of species and locations of trees. It's accessible from our city webpage under Public Works Forestry. And then I want to conclude with thanking you for approving 2 major tree plantings this year, which will result in us planting over 200 trees in the Southside neighborhood, costing approximately $125,000, but fully reimbursed by ODNR in coordination with the USDA. And I welcome questions or comments.
Commissioners, questions or comments for Mr. Wicki?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Pajali?
Do we ever trim up, when the trees have grown up above the street lights, do we ever trim those out? So I live on Wayne Street, and it's very little light down that corridor because of the trees have all grown up so high.
Yeah, so I would recommend that if you want to give me an address or a location, typically we start by having our arborists look at trees. It sounds like it's to the point where that particular tree or certain trees may need a complete trim. Other times we're willing to limb up or work around.
Yeah, it's a number of trees.
Yeah, yes. Are you talking about Scott Street or Wayne?
Scott at Wayne going north.
Okay.
I would say to probably maybe Monroe.
Okay. Yeah, I'll note it.
All right.
We'll take a look. Yeah.
Additional comments or questions, Commissioner? Mr. Wicki, I'm thrilled that you appear to have used my line from the last meeting on the best time to plant a tree.
I know I should have put Commissioner Brady.
You really can't credit me with that. As Mr. Murray pointed out, that
it's an
saying
ancient.
is a lot older than that, and he thinks it might be older than I am. Which is really
It's an ancient proverb. And beloved, our superintendent, Scott Cromer, doesn't love my first, trees are poems you write across the sky, but he allowed this. He was okay with this one. So even the scientific, non-poetic people love this.
I love the line.
True, yeah.
Thanks for the presentation.
Yes, thank you. Take care.
Next on our agenda are residents' comments on any item on the agenda.
Good evening, Tim Schwanger, 362 Sheffield Way, Sandusky. I just had a comment on item number 2, which is the change order for the sidewalk program for 2024. And looking at the supporting documents, and I'm looking at them right now on my phone actually, it looks like there's some items that I'd like to question why they were not included in the original bid or contract. There's an additional construction, the addition of 4 new bus stop shelters, removal of additional 12 trees, and repairs to a curb at the fire station number 1. Just curious why those items weren't included in the original bid. It doesn't seem like those were emergency adds, but more of that those should have been added to begin with in the original bid and contract. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schwager. We'll try to get you an answer as that legislation comes before us. Additional comments from the public on agenda item.
My name is Robert Shaprath, and I presently live at Muirwood Village. I just became the one and only school crossing guard, and I'm trying to find out who put the signs with the flashing lights in on Hayes Avenue. I talked to an officer last week, and he seemed to think it was a state of Ohio because it's a state route. And I would really like to find out, because I think there needs to be one at Hayes and Buchanan. Real bad. And I can only go one direction at a time.
Sure, yeah.
Also, there's a sign on the southeast corner of that intersection that says, "You have left the school zone." Not really. Not until you get on the other side of that street, and it's raising the speed limit back up to 35. Not good. So I think that might be something that the city could handle, and it's only a matter of moving a pole from here over there. Also, if you're on Buchanan Street heading west, there's a sign that says "No left turn," Monday through Friday, 7 to 4. People can't read. I swear to God. My son is a bus driver helper. My daughter-in-law runs the bus garage. I said something to my son about it, and he said, "Tell me about it." He says, "It's tough getting around that corner if you're coming from the north and you want to go east on Buchanan Street." He says, "I saw one bus run way up over the curb the other day to get by a car." But I'd really like to find out who put those signs. There's one on the northwest corner by the crossing by the high school. And then there's one up like in the middle where you would cross to go to the old hospital. And I think we need the one there at that intersection, because I swear to God, those other two were put in before that school was even put up, because that school's not that old. And I really think we need to, I'll help out if I can, but I don't know where to go with this thing.
You've come to the right place.
Well, okay. And then, are you Chief Oliver? I am. Okay.
I'll give you my card.
I was going to say, if somebody wants to stop over tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock or 3 o'clock, I'll be more than happy to spend some time and show them these things. Because
I'll talk to you after the meeting.
Okay, because I think these things really need to be addressed.
Between Mr. Orzak and Chief Oliver, we'll address those issues. And thank you for what you're doing.
Yes, I'm very conscientious about it.
Yeah. Your position are few and far between, and thanks for what you're doing.
Welcome. Thank you.
If you don't want to wait, call me.
It's some bus drivers.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've come to see some people are.
Additional comments from residents regarding any items on the agenda?
Get into that.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
You just share with us your name and address. We'll have it in the record. We're not trying to invade your privacy. We're just trying to have a way to get back to you if we have to.
My name is Patricia Sharpie, and I live at 910 Wayne Street. And I've lived there since July of this year. I moved out of my old apartment. I've only been in Sandusky 4 years, and I moved into this neighborhood paying $300 more a month. I work. I'm a senior citizen. I work at Bright Now Dental. And ever since I've been there, I've had no use to my kitchen sink. When the gentleman spoke on the old housing and putting money into them, when they buy these houses, they know that they're going to have to put money into them. Code enforcement, nothing. I'm like, what are they enforcing? I've called code enforcement day after day. They come out. They did a whole big list, and code enforcement has not helped me at all. And I'm doing my dishes in a Rubbermaid dish pan, and I'm taking it out back, dumping it out.
Ma'am, I hear your issue and I feel your pain. I have to apologize because I perhaps allowed you to go on a little too long. This section of our meeting is for items that are just on the agenda. But I think you've made a great case, and I know that Mr. Orzak is over there writing down your name and address. And he will reach out to code and find out what's going on.
Yeah, I called him too, but I'm sorry, when it said code enforcement in old houses, I thought that was, but I have called him. And
My fault, not yours. Don't be concerned about being in the wrong place. I should have stopped you early on, but I thought you were going to get to an agenda item.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
So when do I get to talk?
Mr. Orzak.
Okay, thank you.
Additional items of agenda items from the public. We're running out of public on agenda items. Commissioner, you had before you several communications from staff recommending various pieces of legislation. Can I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Discussion. Without objection, the motion be approved, and hearing no objection, that motion is approved. Commissioners, we have 4 items on the consent agenda this evening. Do any of you wish to move any of those items to the regular agenda? Ms. Myers, will you present the consent agenda?
Item A, it's a second reading, approval of amendment to codified ordinances, boards, and commissions code. Item B, approval of Shoreline Drive municipal conduit lease agreement with U.S. Signal. Item C, approval of second amendment to CDBG contract with New Jerusalem Church Shelter. Item D, approval of transportation contract with Erie County Job and Family Services.
Commissioners, having heard those ordinances, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Murray.
Move for the adoption of items A through D and items B through C pursuant to section 14 of the city's charter.
Second.
A motion and a second. Discussion. Ms. Myers, you call the roll on that motion, please.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Wantington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Kuntz?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
And now on the ordinances.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Wantington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Kuntz?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
Those ordinances are passed. Ms. Myers, you present item number 1 on the regular agenda.
It is requested a resolution be passed declaring the necessity for the city to proceed with the proposed Thomas Street roadway alignment and sidewalk installation along the east side project, approving the specifications and engineer's estimate of cost thereof, and directing the city manager to advertise for and receive bids in relation thereto, and declaring this resolution shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this resolution, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. White.
I move for the adoption of this resolution under suspension of the rules in full accordance with section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
A motion and a second. Discussion. Ms. Myers, you call the roll on that motion.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Wantington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Kuntz?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
And now on the resolution.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Kuntz?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
That resolution is passed. Ms. Myers, you present item number 2.
It is requested an ordinance be passed authorizing and directing payment to the Treasurer of State, Ohio Department of Transportation for the maintenance of State Route 2 in the city of Sandusky by the Ohio Department of Transportation for the period of July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025, and declaring this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this ordinance, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Goode.
move for adoption of this ordinance under item 2, under suspension of the rules and in full accordance with section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
Commissioners, having... Mr. Klein, I have a question for you. It seems to me that I've seen this legislation for about 12 years now. It's pretty routine, is it not?
Yes. Yes, this comes through every year.
And we are simply being asked to compensate ODOT for maintaining certain sections of road that is in the city of Sandusky.
Yes, by state law, technically the city is responsible for maintaining that little section of State Route 2 on the southwest corner of the city, that freeway that goes through there. Technically, we're responsible for maintaining that. So what we do is we swap that out. They do the maintenance on this, and that is what that second item is that's listed on the agenda on the communication, the State Route 2 maintenance. The other item is we've swapped snow removal with them where we go down Hayes Avenue. There's not a real good place for us to turn around inside the city or at the city limits, so we go down, do the overpass at Route 2, and then turn around and come back. They come all the way down Cleveland Road, go into the city a little bit, and then turn around as well. So it's swapping those sections of roadway for snow removal, and then we have to reimburse them for the maintenance of guardrails and other things, drainage, that type of stuff along that section of State Route 2.
Good, thanks, Mr. Klein. Additional comments or questions? Ms. Myers, you poll the commission on that motion.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Wantington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady? Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Wantington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
That ordinance is passed. Ms. Myers, you present item 3.
It is requested a resolution be passed authorizing the submission of an application by the city manager for financial assistance and to enter into a project agreement with the Ohio Public Works Commission in order to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission's state capital improvement and/or local transportation improvement programs authorized by Chapter 164 of the Ohio Revised Code for the Camp Street Rehabilitation Phase 2 project, Monroe Street to France Street, and declaring this resolution shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, have you heard this resolution? What's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Pajali.
I would move to adopt this resolution in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
Got a motion and a second discussion. Ms. Myers, you poll the commission on that motion, please.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Wantington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
And now on the resolution.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Wantington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
That resolution is passed. Ms. Myers, you present our last item, item number 4.
It is requested an ordinance be passed authorizing and directing the city manager to approve the first and final change order for work performed by Smith Paving and Excavating Incorporated of Norwalk, Ohio for the 2024 sidewalk repair, replacement, and grinding project, Contract B, in the amount of $51,945.33, and declaring this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this ordinance, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Good.
move for adoption of this ordinance under item 4 in full accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
Got a motion and a second discussion. Mr. Klein, I wonder if you can elaborate on the changes. I know it's called a change order. It probably should be called an additional work order instead of a change order.
Yes. So regarding the trees, when we do any project, our first attempt is to save all the trees. So we don't always put removal of trees if it's causing problems to the sidewalk in the base bid. As you're removing sections of the sidewalk and you're looking at drainage and you're trying to get farther back to make sure that it's properly draining, sometimes you might end up tearing up more of the root base than what you want to tear up. That makes the tree unstable on one side in particular, and then that tree may end up coming down. So that's something that as we go through these projects, we analyze the root base and try to figure out if the tree is going to survive. Sometimes it's a judgment call, and we would go back and plant another tree. Sometimes we're monitoring the tree after the fact for several years. Other items, the curb and the transit, this is something that I'll use Huron Street as an example. As we were replacing all the sidewalks along there, Transit was looking to put a pad. I saw them out there today putting the new shelter up on the corner near Monroe. And if we were to get 2 contractors out there at the exact same time, hiring them, first off, the cost would be much higher because we now have a second contractor out there that's doing just that little pad for the transit shelter, and they might be in each other's way. So we're always weighing those factors, trying to get the most cost-effective approach, which is why we added the transit shelters after the project, or the pads for the transit shelters after the project was already bid. Same thing for the curb at the fire station. And then the last big one that was on here was the Jackson Street parking lot. This was a section of right by the drive entrance off of Jackson Street that had been torn up by the contractor for the State Theater. We worked for 2 years to try to get that taken care of. When they moved off site, we felt that we couldn't let it sit like that any longer. It was creating issues. So we wanted to make sure that we got that taken care of, especially with Columbus Avenue and the additional parking going on the Jackson Street parking lot. So there were things that we added after the fact. That's not always our desire, but being that this is also the last sidewalk contract that we plan to do, we wanted to make sure we took care of those things now rather than trying to come back next year and bid out another project.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. Makes sense to me. Additional comments or questions, Commissioners? Ms. Myers, you poll the commission on that motion?
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Bajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Bajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
That ordinance is passed. That concludes our regular agenda. We'll turn to our city manager for his report.
Good evening, Commissioners, audience, and staff. The Sandusky Rec Division would like to thank David Common and the Downtown Sandusky Cedar Point Historical Museum for the donation of one of the antique cars from Cedar Point to the city. The museum made a donation to the Sandusky State Theater to acquire the vehicle with the plan of then donating the vehicle to the city of Sandusky to maintain and place in front of the Merry-Go-Round Museum each tourist season. The city and the theater were both recipients of an antique car several years ago. The city has placed and maintained its vehicle at Shade Mylender Plaza each year. The city now has two vehicles. It will place as photo opportunities for residents and visitors. The City of Sandusky's 2024 audit has been released. The full report is available on the city's website under the Finance Department webpage. The finance team takes pride in having a clean audit and would like to thank all of the employees and staff for continuing to be great stewards of taxpayer funds. And no material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies, and no findings with the 2024 audit. The next Finance Committee meeting will be this Friday, September 12th at 8 o'clock at City Hall. The City of Sandusky's 2024 audit has been released, and the full report is available at the city's website under the Finance webpage. Well, that's a duplication, sorry. I'll have to get my administrative assistant straightened out. The contractor for East Perkins Ave is planning to place asphalt before the end of September and possibly next week. And for transit, effective October 1st, 2025, the Sandusky Transit dial-a-ride system service hours will change to 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Saturday. The change is intended to concentrate service during the busiest hours and provide more buses when demand is highest. Hours for fixed route and ADA paratransit service will remain the same. There may be an adjustment for some riders, and the city appreciates the community's understanding as transit works to provide reliable, efficient service. Questions can be directed to 419-627-0740. That concludes my report. I'll take any questions that you have.
Questions or comments for city manager?
Mr. Chairman, I think we need a motion to accept the donation.
So moved.
Second.
And a motion and a second discussion. On objection, that motion be approved. And because I'm not hearing any objection, that motion is approved. Are you satisfied, Mr. Hastings?
Yes, very.
Now we're legal. Questions or comments for our city manager? Items of old business. Any items of old business, Commissioners? Items of new business. Do you have any items of new business? Man, you're a quiet group today. I have a motion that I will ask for. It's to set a public hearing for the October 13th meeting for a zone text amendment to the residential district fence height ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
And a motion and a second discussion. Ms. Myers, you poll the commission on that motion.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Bajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coon?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
That motion is passed. Any other items of new business? If not, we will move to comments from residents regarding city business. This is your opportunity to tell us your thoughts. I'd ask that you step to the podium and give us your name and address for the record, and try to keep your comments to 5 minutes.
She's back.
We're going to count the minutes you already used. So you got 30 seconds to go.
Basically, I've already said everything. I'm not asking for anything that I'm not paying for. I'm asking that I can live comfortable. I have a little dog, and my furniture is still in storage. I can show you guys all the proof. I haven't even been able to bring my furniture into this new apartment at all. They have, I mean, the carpet is, they said that there wasn't any pets there. The carpet in the bedroom is totally cat. And the beautiful closet that I thought I was gonna get to put my shoes in and stuff, cats. And so basically, all I want is to be treated fair. I want to be able to use my sink. I want to be able to not have to carry my water out back and empty it out. When I moved into there, it's such a beautiful neighborhood, and it's a cute apartment, and I mean, I can sit out back, me and my little dog, and just sit outside in the dark, and I don't even have to worry about it. But then, when I do dishes, I have to take it and pour it out. This is 2025, and I'm paying $300 more than I was paying in my other little apartment, which wasn't as pretty, but it was functional. So,
Between our city manager and perhaps an intervention with the health department, I think we can get to the bottom of this and find some help either through our code department or maybe a combination of code and the health department. He will get back to you.
That's all I'm asking for.
Thanks for coming here.
And again, my address is 910 Wayne Street, and my name is Patricia Sharpie. Thank you so much.
Yes. I take particular interest because I lived less than 1 block from her for a long time. So
You're not the landlord, are you, Mr.
No, I am not.
Fine, what an idiot.
Thank goodness for that.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Pajala.
That's okay.
Mr. Orzak, do you know if our code compliance people ever suggest going through rent escrow to the court, where you pay your rent to the court if you meet the proper conditions, and then you're paying the rent to the court until the landlord takes care of those problems?
Yeah, I think we'll have to, I'll address it. The fair housing folks are one who is coming to mind that should be addressing this issue. So we'll I'll make sure to take care of it.
Thank you.
Good evening. Darwood Garrett, 315 Decatur Street, Sandusky, Ohio. And along that accomplished me this evening was Dora Ross. The 2 questions I had about a month ago, I haven't heard any response. Neither have they called the church or anything, because the trustee who answers the telephone, she does it 2 or 3 times a day. And I was just wondering, is there a time period? Have I waited? Have I not waited enough time? I'm just asking.
We'll cycle through that, and I do recall what your question was. It had to do with a podium that's mounted outside, and I think
And the other one was Farwell Park.
Farwell Park.
Correct.
I'm sure that Mr. Orzak will get back with you.
Okay, thank you.
Additional comments on any item that pertains to city business?
Why we can't answer that now? Like, we need the answers.
Good evening, everybody. Steve Schaffner, 1010 Wyndham Lane, Sandusky, and one of your 3 Erie County Commissioners. I come before you today to ask the commissioners, and in turn the city, to consider getting involved in some way with an independent feasibility study regarding the potential regionalization of water and/or sewer services in the county. I'm going to ask the same of Huron, Vermilion, and Milan. I don't know what the involvement would or could even be, and I don't know the costs involved, but by having all of us who provide the services sharing at least our information, it's a way to get a snapshot of what is currently available and in turn what could be possible in the future. I'm prepared to have the discussion with my counterparts about funding this study on our own if necessary, since we're the ones currently pushing the idea back to the limelight. I think many here know my thoughts on regionalization. It's something I started talking about 7 years ago when I first ran for my current position. I followed closely the water and sewer issues between the county and the city since 1992 when I first got to town. And the lack of effort to regionalize systems since that time and the constant legal confrontations between the county and the city was one of the reasons why I chose to run for this office. It's my belief that county entities and governments should not be involved in running or operating any public utilities. When final decisions are made by people who are elected, regardless of their virtue or well-meaning desires, those decisions will always be compromised at some point because of the myriad of other concerns and responsibilities that fall on all of our shoulders. In our case, in the county, it's things like the nursing home, the sheriff's department, the courthouse. My desire is to have a completely separate and new entity created to handle the regionalized system, an entity that would assume all current debt and all operations. Now, clearly, that's a process that will take a lot of time, deliberation, and debate to figure out. But until we have a study completed that shows us the results of exactly what we are currently have in operation to go along with future plans, and in many cases, requirements, we'll never be able to seriously discuss regionalization options. My idea may not work at all, may not end up making any sense, but until we get the baseline of information in place to act as a foundation, I fear another 33 years might go by with no changes to the current way of doing business. And that's not acceptable to me, and I dare say shouldn't be acceptable to anybody in this room tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schaffner.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Matt Old, also an Erie County Commissioner. The last time I stood at this podium was at the inaugural meeting of the Blue Ribbon Commission, and that commission was established to figure out ways that through working together through cooperation and increasing efficiencies that we can lower cost for the citizens of Erie County, whether that be through lower property tax, whether it be through lower utility rates, but let's figure out ways that we can work together and lower costs for our citizens. And one of the recommendations that came out of that group was to do a study to look at regional water and sewer. In my opinion, when you grow an economy of scale or create an economy of scale, you're able to push down the cost of doing business. I think that is true in business, and I certainly think it's true in the world of utilities, public utilities. As Mr. Schaffner said, I don't know the outcome. What we're asking is to have a study that will bring in somebody who knows how to put these systems together, how to take the pumps and pipes that are owned by different entities that have different cost structures, different financing structures, and put that together in such a way that we can figure out if we can lower utility rates, water and sewer rates for the citizens of this county. And I don't know the outcome. But I wanted to come today personally to ask this commission to join us. We are not at the starting line of this race. It's a long journey. I don't know the outcome. We're not at the starting line yet. We're walking to it, and when we get to the starting line where we're putting out a request for proposal for qualifications, my hope is that Erie County will be there, the city of Sandusky will be right next to us, the city of Vermillion will be there, the city of Huron will be there, and the village of Milan. And we will all start this process together, so there are no games being played by anybody, that everyone is on the same page, everyone is giving input, and we can come up with a consultant who we all agree on that can move this process forward. And the last thing I want to make a very strong point of emphasis on is my intention is not, repeat, is not to have a county-run regional system under the control of the county commissioners. This would be a regional entity that is controlled by a board who all of the governments would agree on the structure and composition, not under the county commissioners. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Olds. Additional comments regarding city business? The public?
My apologies for a third time. Tim Schwanger, 362 Sheffield Way. It was nice to see the presentation this evening on street safety. One of the concerns I've always had, and some folks that are on Facebook as well, I love Facebook, is the amount of four-way and three-way stop signs that are all of a sudden just like popping up like weeds, okay? The question I've always had is, are we making sure we're doing some kind of traffic studies or a accident count, or is it a matter of just someone on that street complaining about speeders? If that's the case, that we're just relying on one person that shares a concern about speeders, that's not the proper way to make sure that we're putting four-way stops in the right spot. I had a concern with a resident that I've known all my life. I believe it's on Broadway Street, out by Dick's Carryout. It's a 3-block street, and there's a four-way stop right in the middle of that street, and it was based on one person complaining on that street, and those four-way stops were put up. That individual no longer lives on that street. So let's make sure that we are doing some kind of a study, not just somebody in the staff deciding to put up a four-way stop in some of these locations. Folks, I encourage every one of you at this table to do a Google search on four-way stops. They do not slow down traffic. They actually speed up traffic. You may slow down at that spot, but if you're in a hurry, you're going to do double to get to where you're going after you stop at that stop sign. I encourage you to do a Google search. These are studies. These are national transportation studies that indicate four-way stops do not slow traffic. Police presence does. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schwanger. Additional comments from the public?
Come on, Tommy.
Not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Crable.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt your flow there.
Okay.
But I think that it's interesting that County Commissioner's proposal, not unexpected because I was part of the Blue Ribbon Committee, but it seems to me that as public officials, we don't know what we don't know. And I can assure you, I am no expert in water services or sewer services. I try to follow Mr. Klein's direction as these questions come up. But it does strike me that economies of scale have merit. I mean, I come from the business world. I know that it does. And it's kind of basic economics. Now, what I don't know, going back to my original comments about what I don't know what a study as is being proposed would tell us, okay? But what I do know is that if the city of Sandusky is not at the table when such a study is going to be done, and I take the county commissioners at their word that they're going to pursue a study no matter, if we're not at the table and recommendations come forward, it's going to, I think, cause many to say, well, we weren't part of that, or the study was biased, or we didn't get a chance to have input or ask questions or what have you. I think just as a matter of good public policy, an opportunity that exists to, and I don't know this, but to create greater efficiencies, save the public money, save ratepayers on their utility bills. I think these are good arguments for at least looking at this issue. And as such, I would hope we would entertain a motion to engage with the county and the city of Huron and Vermilion and Milan and any other parties that might come to mind that want to be part of this. But I'd like to forward a motion so that we can move forward with this. I know what the letter was that came forward from our city manager's office, that, we wanted to have this, I don't know what it is, committee, study group, whatever, from 6 years, 10 years ago, whatever was the last time it met. But again, I have heard, I don't know the truth of this, but I have heard that Huron has already made some tentative decision that they're not going to be part of this. Okay, well then why are we meeting? Why is the September 15th meeting even a thing? I think that this is a good idea. It is a timely idea. It gives us an opportunity to work cooperatively with fellow elected officials. I think there's every reason for us at this point, we don't know what the costs are, and that question will come back to us at some point. You know, once we have proposals on the table, some kind of decision made, you know, within that working group as to, you know, who should be hired and what the costs are, that'll come back to us. But at this point, I think we need to engage in that process, and that's what my motion is.
Mr. Chair.
Ms. Fargo.
Jeff, you said everything very well, thank you, and I appreciate the county commissioners and everyone coming to share an opportunity to collaborate. I think it's a long time coming, and I look down on this from a different view, and a lot of people sitting here and a lot of people sitting out there. There's been too much divide, and I think this is a really benign way to get together and do something that could potentially help our residents, help the county residents, and then if it can't, we all are here to say it can. Yeah. We're all very, we're very understanding that we have the opportunity to say this isn't, we found out, and Mr. Schaffner said it so very nicely, that you don't know what you don't know until you look at it, and it may not work. But I do think it's time to work together for the betterment of everyone and do something together. So I'm on board with that, and if we're able to do a motion, then I would second that.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Mr. Chairman, just a couple of comments. I think that...
This under the discussion portion. We have a motion, we've had a second. Now we're going to have a discussion.
Right.
You're up.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, just, I guess, looking at this study that the county wants to do, and the fact that I think the elephant in the room is we don't trust the county, and they don't trust us. So I think somehow we have to figure out a way to build a bridge so we can build some trust, and this might be an opportunity to do that. It allows us to control the narrative to a certain extent. I mean, if they do the study, they're going to tell us what the study told them. We can ask the questions. I don't think anybody around this table, the fear is they're coming for our water. They're coming for our water. We're going to sell out the city. But the fact of the matter is, I got enough confidence from everybody around this table. We got a good thing going. It's not like we're going to give that up unless there's a compelling argument that we should go in that direction. And just the last thing is these studies. My complaint about studies is, for years, we did studies and everybody complained because they sat on the shelf. And in the last 10 years or so, we've done studies, and now we have to do everything in the study. And the way I look at a study is just a study. It's a recommendation. It's a wish list. If you can't afford to do it, you don't do it. And if the stakeholders tell you to do it, well, the stakeholders are kind of handpicked, and they'll tell you what you want to hear. So. Those are my comments.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Murray.
I think I want to weigh in on this because I totally support the idea of sharing information and conducting the study. I do feel strongly that the study should be paid for by the one entity that represents all of the ratepayers of Erie County, which is Erie County. I don't see any reason that the different cities would be paying twice through the county and then directly. But I won't be here for when the final decisions are made. And it may not be on this planet at that point in time because it will be a long-term process. But I want to place this caveat there. The City of Sandusky is the lowest cost service provider of any entity in Erie County. And we do it because we've got a great staff, but we also do it because we have density that it does not exist in the rest of the county. And my concern is that you could immediately make rates cheaper in the rest of the county by having the citizens of Sandusky pay the same rate. We could have an immediate increase of 30%, and it would lower rates out in the rest of the county. So I think as we move forward, it's incumbent upon us to recognize that we have that advantage and that it's our fiduciary duty as commissioners to maintain that advantage because that only exists in cities. So I hope that's kept in mind in the decades to come.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Combs.
Yeah, I have a few things I want to say as it relates to this particular issue, and I'm somewhere between where you are. I'm somewhere between what Dennis said and what Jeff, Kate, and Steve had to share. My thing is I'll talk to anybody at any time about anything, but I always question, we're talking now about this particular issue. We need to talk about quite a few other issues that affect the people in this area, that affect the people in Erie County. And there are many issues that affect us, and I don't want to get too far off at this particular point. Maybe this will be a road to establishing some kind of dialogue and really a working relationship that works for all the people in Erie County. I haven't seen it. I'm just being honest. I have not seen that. I'd like to see it because there are a lot of needs across the border. Whether you're talking about Sandusky, whether you're talking about Perkins, Vermilion, Margaretta, there are all these issues, but I'm willing to talk about it. I also worried about what Commissioner Murray shared, and that is when we talk, of course, we'll be able to see, wait a minute, what do we lose? What do we have already? So, yes, I'm willing to talk about it. The study, when we start talking about studies, another issue that would be in the forefront of my mind is, okay, not only who's paying for it, of course, I agree. County can pay for it, but the other side is, who's doing the study? Who gets to decide? Mm-hmm. How many other folks are out there that do the study that we all chime in and we say, let's do the study then, because we've come upon somebody we believe is good. But don't bring us somebody that, okay, you already have. So I got quite a few issues, but I think those are enough for me to wrap it up.
The concern that I have had and continue to have is that this request was made to our city manager. Our city manager sat down with staff, which is appropriate. Staff made a recommendation as to how he should proceed. And Mr. Orzak responded to the county as to how we would intend to proceed. That response was based on staff recommendations, and it was also based on the fact that we have in place, we now have in place and have had in place since 2007, a regional water agreement, which the city of Sandusky, the city of Huron, and Erie County are all signatories to. Now, the county's done one of two things. Either they did not know that this agreement existed, or they chose to end run around this agreement and come directly to Mr. Orzak, and tonight they're here coming directly to this commission to circumvent an agreement that is already in place. I submit, and I believe Mr. Orzak submitted to the county, and I believe the city of Huron submitted to the county, that the appropriate venue for that request is to the Regional Water Agreement Board, which has been established since 2007, signed document by our commission at that time, by the county commissioners at that time. And yes, it's laid dormant for a while, more than a while, for years, probably because there were not issues to that. And I will also question why our Blue Ribbon Committee apparently had no knowledge of a regional water agreement that existed when you did your Blue Ribbon Committee study on this. I believe that this question belongs at the meeting that I've called as the chairman of that board on the 15th of September. And at that table will be the city of Huron and the city of Sandusky. I guess the question I ask is, will the county be at that table?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Waddington, do you have anything to say? Because everyone gets a shot, and then we can have a second shot.
I thought next Monday on the
That was rude.
15th, we were going to meet, and I assumed the county was invited,
Certainly the county was invited.
So, maybe hash some of this out here. Coming here at 7, after 7 on Monday night after a long commission meeting, and to bring, to come to us now. And I got elected as the City of Sandusky Commissioner. I'm happy to work with the county, but let's see, are you guys available next Monday night to talk so we can, that would be the appropriate thing, I think, to discuss it then.
Ms. Varga.
One, I think that in talking to our city manager, Mr. Orzak, because I had no conversations with you about any of this, even though you are the president of this board, they didn't communicate well, and I think they would admit that in talking to John. He knew that just sending a letter, it would have been nice if someone picked up the phone and they talked about it, but here we are all of a sudden, they said, okay, let's come and let's actually really tell you guys what we want to do. So they did come to our meeting, which is really, I think, is a good thing, and it's a really good start. Not finding a regional water advisory board that's been in the basement for 9 years that no one's done anything about. So that's very frustrating, and that's another on our end to try to circumvent them just asking us if we want to partner with this. That's a frustration on my end. And this is not just about water. We need to be thinking about sewer. If we want to eventually grow development in our county, outside of the city of Sandusky. Where's the land? It's outside of the city of Sandusky. Do we have the sewer infrastructure? We do not. Do they? They do not. So what are we going to do about that? This study would allow us to take a look at all of that, and no one is saying we're doing anything. And I certainly am on board with just what Commissioner Pajali said. I am not selling out the city of Sandusky for anything. Not one penny am I going to say my taxpayers are going to pay more for their water because the county shows up. That's not what this is about. This is working together to see if what we can do what's best for the entire county and most importantly for the city of Sandusky.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Crable.
I think that my motion is a simple one. I think the request from the county commissioners is a relatively simple one. I kind of have to say I regret the introduction of kind of a negative air into this conversation. Recognizing and respecting everyone's right to speak their mind, okay? But it does bespeak the problem that we have had as an ongoing curse in this distrust between city and county. I think it's just time that we try to set those things aside, step forward in good faith, and engage a process. We're not engaging an outcome. We're not engaging, at this point, any cost to the city. We're simply engaging a conversation, a participation toward hopefully a better future, but certainly a future that is informed better than where we are now. I'd like to call the vote.
Ms. Myers, you poll the commission.
Can I
Excuse
point
me,
of order?
Mr. Murray.
Can I have clarity on exactly what the motion is, Mr. Hastings, as you understand it, or Ms. Myers, as you understand it? Because it kind of felt like it moved around a little bit. I think I understand what Mr. Crable is saying, but I just want to make sure I have clarity.
What's the motion?
How would you like that clarity to be provided?
As I understand the motion, it is a motion to communicate with the county about engaging a third party, not sure what it's going to be, engineer firm, but third party firm to study the potential of a regional water system.
Water and sewer. That was my motion. So I know. I know what it said.
So it's the
yes,
original,
you're
this
absolutely
conversation,
right.
to get into the talks.
To begin the conversation.
Is that motion clear to everyone here? Ms. Myers, you call the motion. Call the vote on the motion.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington? Mr. Brady?
No.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Kuntz?
Yes.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
That motion is passed.
Passed.
Deal.
Thank you.
Thank you.